Hi guys. So I don't know how many of you are going to be doing this, so I'm just going to present like we would in class. This is going to be Project 4, Alternate Work from Home Edition. So for this project, we're going to be working on something called a Trompe flower brick. And what that means essentially is, so trompe-l'oeil is the French term for basically creating something that mimics something else. It basically means to deceive the eye. And it's an artistic technique that uses realistic images to create an optical illusion. And this is something clay is really good at doing because it is so malleable and easily like painted and crafted. You're able to turn it into anything, right? It allows you to have control and really change things to be whatever you want them to be. Clay does not have to be, the things we expect it to be. It doesn't have to look like a rock, or it doesn't have to look like glass. It can look like leather or plastic or concrete or tree bark. And there's so many ways to accomplish this, and it really is such a cool technique to use. So the challenge for this project is not so much the building of the object, but the illusion. So we're going to have a good amount of time to work on this. So really give it, time now to put it together. And my advice for this project specifically is go ahead and let's get your designs out quickly, do your research by the end of this week, and get the structure built. So build the base, because from there you're going to want to do your detail work, and your detail work is what's going to take the most time, because we are trying to fool somebody into thinking our ceramic object is made out of something that it definitely isn't made out of. So give me 1 second. I'm going to open up our presentation. Alrighty. So trompe-l'oeil is the French term. Normally it's got a comma right here. But basically, it's the act of creating something that will be deceptive. And you can do that in any way. You can do it with paint. You can do it with wood. Anything can do this. But clay is exceptionally good at this. You look at these and you say, oh, that's a pair of cowboy boots. No! Those are made out of clay. Those are made out of clay, and they have been sculpted and painted to look like used aged leather, and that's so overwhelming. That's a lot of power. Clay has a lot of power, and I think this is something that gets overlooked a lot. Like, look at the detail. You can even see the lace work in there. Tim Kowalczyk is one of our primary references. He makes pottery that looks like cardboard. He makes functional ware that looks like cardboard, like the mailers you get from Amazon. And the way he does it is sort of crazy. He will roll out these really thin strips of clay, and he will layer them step by step by step in one big slab, and then he'll cut them to the shape that he needs. And he'll even like peel away pieces so you can see like the corrugated inside, and he builds them just like cardboard is sort of assembled, but it's just thin layers of clay. And then he has, these are decals, these little fragile stickers. But they're entirely functional because you can kind of see the glossy sheen up here, and that's just a clear glaze on top. Ayanna Frisbee makes meat trays. So like the trays you get from, the meat section of the store that your chicken or your beef comes on. She's created a bunch of these in various different colors. And they're plates. They're plates. She's made them to look like those styrofoam trays, but they're completely usable plates. Youngjung Kim, still life. So a still life scene is so easy to do. And look at these books. Like, they might not look exactly like books, but they're a pretty good scene. You would not guess that these books are made out of clay. And it would be super easy to turn that into like a box. Lauren Sandler's Cornucopia. Now, the fruit is not as realistic as the mailbox. The mailbox is the reason I pulled it through. Does this not look like hammered iron? Wow. No, that is such a hard feat to accomplish. And that's what we're going to to try to pull through with this project. And just trying to imitate real life. And your sculpture doesn't have to be anything that is super fancy. It can just be, take a picture of your desk and maybe stack some stuff together and use that as a reference, because this is made out of clay. It looks like a cardboard box and it's full of styrofoam cups, but those aren't styrofoam, those are clay. And you can even sort of build something like that. And I want you to really think about how you could really fool us as the viewer into seeing something that isn't there. This is Bonnie Seaman. She is one of my favorites. She makes functional wear that looks like bugs and flowers and muscle. She really enjoys messing with the eye and like making things look like musculature. So these look like human muscle and tissue, but it also, there's these little like bugs on the sides and flowers, and it's on a cabbage leaf. But there's something so eerily human about her work, yet absolutely organic feeling. And this is where we are going to get creative here. We're really going to try to push our sculpting abilities and our narrative creation and make something that looks like something completely different, right? So flower bricks. Flower bricks are kind of funny. Most people don't know what a flower brick is, but when you get one, you're like, why have I never had this? If cut flowers are something you enjoy, a flower brick is a great way to display them. So flower bricks tend to be a little bit wider, a little bit lower to the ground, and they tend to have separation between holes. So where you normally in a normal vase, you would have one large opening. In a flower brick, you'll have a couple of them. And the way why this is such a good thing is because if you've got flowers that are a little more substantial, if the stems are a little heavier, like sunflowers or lilies or tulips or irises, those flowers have really thick stems and they do need a little bit of support, and they'll stand up straighter in a vase like this. And you can put just a couple on them and really display your flowers to their fullest advantage. And it's really great to separate these flowers and give them a sense of dimension, so that way they're not all bunched together. And this piece is called Red Carpet, and the carpet is the flowers up top. But these flower bricks kind of look like popcorn bags from a movie, and she's made them look like popcorn bags, but they're fully functional bricks. This is called Americana Ringside Flower Brick. Stephen Mullins has, instead of just holes, he's made his holes stars and given it like a little rubber band around here. So he's made it a multimedia piece. So using a traditional form for like a contemporary message, you've got Andre the Giant here in decal or paint, and a very like masculine form for something that's supposedly very feminine. Flower organization is something that's always been very feminine. Making flower bricks. So typically what you would do is you're going to make a form. And I would recommend for this one, you can use either coil ink or slab building. Either will do. Coiling's going to be a little sturdy and you might be able to work a little faster. But for the most part, all you're going to do is you're going to build a general vessel shape to begin with. So that could be an oval, or that could be a box, or that could be, a circle, just something to start with. And then from the top, you're going to create sort of sectioned patterns, and you can do that by just individual cylinders or cutting holes in the top like a lattice, or like in this example, using coils and arching them on top of each other to create this more like free-flowing organic feeling piece. And they really accented it in the next photo with these little flowers. They're telling you this is a flower vase. Notice this little structure they've got built here. This is so handy because what they've done is they've coiled up a little bit on the outside to create a structure to build in. And then they put a little plastic around it so that this clay on the inside wouldn't touch the clay on the outside. And by doing it this way, they were able to let the weight of the wet clay, their wet coils, lean on that outside structure, and they were able to work faster. And you guys are welcome to do that as well. I fully advise it, and I'll do a demo on how that works later, okay? So flower bricks don't have to be particularly complicated. They can just be fairly simple. Like this is just maybe a small vessel with a top and some holes. That's fairly simple. And they can get pretty complicated. Look at all these little cubes and spheres. Like it's almost like a bubble. But the openings are very organized, and they're also just holes in the top of the piece. Those holes don't have to be crazy. And I want you to think when you go to make your piece, how the placement of the holes affects the shape of your sculpture. Because that could really be an interesting aspect to think about. If say you're making a shoe, and you obviously are going to have a hole up top where the foot would go in, but would it not be interesting to maybe like put some holes where the laces are? And so maybe you could have, where you would thread the lace, you could maybe thread flowers. Just a thought, just something to think about. Using the design of your pot to your visual advantage is so important. You can get really organic with this. This one's like a 3-tiered flower brick. So it's got this bottom layer, it's got something a little higher, and then one really tall one up top. And this would really show off a beautiful bouquet of flowers really well. And the same here. Notice how these ends are just really cute and sort of like whimsical feeling. And they really echoed that through the narrow columns that hold the flowers up. And it doesn't even have to be like something like that doesn't look like anything. This is a turtle. You could make a turtle. You could make any sort of animal, as long as you fooled us into thinking like this was the actual animal. But look how the holes where normally you'd have turtle shell scales would be, have been opened up to allow for that flower brick to really just work to Walter Ostrom's advantage. And he's so cute. So excellent. And that's the end of the slideshow. So it's going to be really important with this particular assignment to really get started soon. And the reason I'm saying that is because building the piece, putting the thing together, building the shape is not going to be the hard part. The hard part is going to be spending time and patience on those little details to really just fool everyone. And I want you to get with me as far as your research is concerned, because once I know what you're making, then we can get together and we can kind of plan on how to decorate these things. And I can tell you what you should use, and I can get you what you should use. And especially if you need to still work from home, what could end up happening is I can meet you halfway or something. You text me or email me when you get here and say, hey, JC, I've pulled up. I'm here to pick up my colorants. And if you bring me a little bit of Tupperware, I can bring you, the colors that you would need to make your assignment the way you want it to be. And it's going to be really important that we get good research on this. So I want you to think really, really long and hard, and don't just casually throw out some research. Say, this is the thing I want to make. And maybe the thing you want to make isn't that hard. Maybe it's just a shoe. Maybe it's a McDonald's, Happy Meal container. Maybe it's an actual brick. What if you made a flower brick that looks like an actual brick? And we can do that. And the trick is, and the big part of this assignment is going to be in getting those details right, and then applying the right kind of color, because sometimes paint is the option. So with this project, we don't have to necessarily glaze the piece. However, we do have to fire it once. So once we get it bisque fired, if paint is the right decorative technique, then once it's bisque fired, I can give it right back to you, and you can take it home and paint it from there, and that's totally fine. We just need to figure out what you're doing so we can get all these little details. And that's why this research for this project is going to be so important. But as well, getting the shape, the basic structure, that skeleton built first is going to be important. Because once you've got that structure built, you'll have a solid foundation for taking your time to work on the rest of it. All right, cool. So I'm going to get some demos uploaded, and I want you guys to refer back to them, email me, ask me questions. I'm excited to see what y'all come up with. I'm excited to see what I don't even know what I'm making. So at this point, we're all gonna do this together, and I think it's gonna be really good. So nice.